Well, hey there, it's Catherine from Catherine Pooler Designs. Welcome to episode number 7 of our holiday card making series. In this video, we're going to make 4 cards, mass production style, kind of like what we did in episode number 2, but in this episode, we're going to be using patterned paper instead of a watercolor background technique, and we're going to layer on top of that patterned paper base. We're going to use the Better Not Pout patterned paper pack, the coordinating inks, some dies, and the Merriest Sentiment stamp set. Oh, I also use the Jolly Holly stamp set, so we'll look at that in a minute. But the first thing I'm going to do when mass producing these cards is take my 8.5 by 11 cardstock, cut it in half, score it in half, fold it in half. Those are your card bases. And then I'm going to take 4 of the patterns. You could do more. You could do the same pattern, you can do 4 different patterns, but I'm going to cut that one to 4 by 5 1/4, and this is going to layer right on my card base. There'll be a little border around the edge between the patterned paper and the card base, and as that's a great way to start a card. So I have the beginnings of my card here. I'm just going to fold each of these in half, use a bone folder to crease that fold, and then I'm going to use some foam tape, put a little bit on the back of each of my patterned paper layers, and then I'm going to add them all to the card bases, and I have the great beginnings of a card. And then I'll use the Hearts and Tags dies. This is a great staple set to have in your crafty stash with the little patterned hearts and the banner and the little tag. Classic and really versatile uses of this set. So I cut out 4 tags. Actually, my advice is to cut out more than 4 when mass producing cards, because inevitably, if you're like me, you're going to misstamp, you're going to get smudges, and it's nice to have a few extras on hand. In comes the Holly Jolly stamp set for the win. These holly leaves are going to be perfect for adorning the tags. There are 3 sizes, and each size has 1 or 2 patterns to stamp on top of it. I've been using these a ton on my holiday cards, so there's lots of great ideas on our YouTube channel, on the blog, and by our brand ambassadors. And I'm getting the color combo from our Better Not Pout patterned paper. So I'm grabbing the pink champagne, and then my color wheel is going to tell me what shades are darker than pink champagne in our ink line for the layering. So pink champagne, rose petals, rouge, peppermint scrub, and merlot. And then winter green is also in the paper pack. So our green blues are winter green, and then sea foam is a little darker. Sea glass comes next, and then bay breeze is the darkest in the green blue color line. So let's see how they look stamped out with a non-traditional color palette with the pinks and reds. So let's start out by stamping a bunch of these in pink champagne. So we'll do that first layer. You can use this stamp and create a whole background. You can stamp the solid stamp and then die cut them just as is, or you can add the patterns on top. So here we're doing pink champagne and then the rose petals, and pink champagne and rouge, pink champagne and peppermint scrub, and then pink champagne with merlot on top. Do you have a favorite? I think I really, really like the contrast of the merlot. I think that pink champagne with merlot stamped on top just looks gorgeous. It has a vintage kind of old-fashioned Christmas feel to me. And then here are a couple other holly leaves that I've stamped and die cut, a couple of the various sizes, some just solid, some solid with pattern. You can also just stamp the pattern and die cut that. So let's mass produce a bunch of the holly leaves to then have on hand to adorn the tags. So I'm going to stamp some in winter green, some in pink champagne. I'm going to stamp some small ones, some large ones. I'm going to stamp some with patterns, some just solid. And then I'll stamp some berries, and then it's time to make card number 1. If you wanted to truly mass produce these, you would pick one card design and make a bunch of the one, but in this video I'm doing the same base, so the card base, the layer, and then the tag, and then each tag I'm going to decorate differently. So then you can have 4 different ideas, and then maybe you'll choose one of those to mass produce. So for this one I chose the Fa La 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 La, and I thought the little holly leaves on the side of the tag would be adorable. I love this stamp. I think it's so cute. Fun and funky, one in wintergreen, one in pink champagne. Add a couple berries on there, and then the tag, probably going to want to tie some twine through there. Add some foam tape to the back of this tag, and there's card number 1. So for card number 2, we're going to use the pattern from the Better Not Pout pattern paper pack. This print was made to go with the Old St. Nick stamp set, but you're not restricted to only use it with that, of course. It's going to look adorable with the holly leaves. So I'm going to stamp a few of the medium-sized holly leaves with the wintergreen, sea glass, and bay breeze. So again, leaving some solid, stamping some with the wintergreen with a darker color on top, and then I'm going to try out that actually, I think I left that Bay Breeze just plain. Yes, because I used a plain one and a pattern one on this card, and I thought it looked really cute. So from the Merriest Sentiments, I'm using the Jingle All the Way sentiment. I'm going to add a bow, so let's grab the Rouge ink pad and very carefully just lining that up, holding my breath. Ha! That's 20 years of practice. And I still don't always get it right. So just practice, and if it's easier for you, probably heard me say it a million times, stamp and then die cut. So I don't know, I think I really liked the 2 pattern leaves together, but I felt like on top of the very busy pattern paper, it was a little too much. So I used the leaf that had a little bit less going on, just the little asterisks on there, the little twinkles, and then the solid leaf and a bow to finish it off. So we'll just adhere those on, add some foam tape again to that tag, and glue it on the front of the card, and there is idea number 2. This card uses some metallic embroidery thread, and it's a great way to add a little bit of sparkle to the card rather than using twine. I like to double it over a bunch of times so it's more than doubled, quadrupled or quintupled. Just use a bunch of threads to add a little bit of bulk, and I really like the extra shine and sparkle that it adds to this card. So on to card number 3, I'm using the plaid paper, and this time I'm going to use some of the small holly leaves. So we'll just stamp a few of these so I have some variety to choose from. And like I was saying with a bow, I've been stamping for a really long time. Practice makes perfect, but I still mess up and I still don't stamp my stamps well on a die cut. So that's why I usually just die cut a whole bunch and stamp, stamp, stamp. And then I pick the ones that came out the best. So the greens in this paper pack are yellow greens. So lemongrass, green tea, eucalyptus, and I'm loving how the May Your Holiday Sparkle in eucalyptus looks. I think it's really elegant. And with the pink champagne and rouge holly, I think it looks awesome. So we'll just arrange those on there, add a little twine, foam tape to the back of that tag, tie off that twine, and there is card number 3. Loving this color combo. So for the last and the 4th and the final card, this one took me a couple minutes, and I changed up the design a little bit. I added an extra embellishment. So the first thing I was doing was just stamping directly onto the tag. I was using lemongrass, green tea, and eucalyptus, and I was just playing with stamping the solid stamp in light and dark, and then added some patterns on top of some of them, die cutting, arranging, and stamping some berries on there. I think the rouge berries really pops and looks just so elegant with the green tea and the lemongrass. But then I wasn't liking how this looked overall with the pattern paper. I grabbed the double duty circle dies, I stamped Oh What Fun, and then I really worked hard to make this arrangement work for me. And when I took that tag and added it to the background, it, like I said, it just was too much. It was too busy, too much going on. So then I thought, well, what if I don't use the tag and just add this circle with the holly leaves and the bow? I think that looks really cute, but I felt like since I was doing the other ones with the tag, I really wanted to keep with that theme. So I put the tag on there and then I got it. I think the tag needed color. So I grabbed my pink champagne ink pad and just did direct to paper over that tag to make a pink champagne tag. Now you notice I pushed too hard on one of those strokes and made a really like a darker spot on that tag. But I'm going to cover it with the circle and the holly leaves there, so you won't really be able to see that. Just try to keep a consistent pressure when doing direct to paper, because if you press light and then you press really hard, you're going to get marks and streaks. So here is what I ended up with, and I don't know, I think this ended up being my favorite one. I think it's really cute with that pink champagne tag. Love the pink with the yellow greens on top of it and that pop of red. So a few sequins added onto some of these cards to add a little bit more sparkle. The Nashville sequin mix goes really well with the Better Not Pout patterned paper pack. I'm using my jewel picker to pick those up. It's sticky or tacky on the end, and a little Bearly Arts glue to glue those on. And those are the 4 cards. So 1 card sketch or template or layout with the patterned paper and then the tag on top, and then each one of them used a different sentiment, a different arrangement of the holly, and even on the What Fun card, just adding on that little circle just changes it up a little bit. So do you have a favorite? Leave a comment below. Let us know if you'll choose one of these to mass produce. So thanks for joining us for this holiday card making series. This was episode 7. There is one more coming for the series. Be sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss a thing. And if you've missed any of the episodes, you can go back and watch here right on the YouTube channel. We will see you again soon.